Brett. Ladies and gentlemen, consider this your 2-minute warning. Your 2-minute warning to make sure you grab yourself your dessert, freshen up the coffee, and then grab your spots at your tables, and we will get underway here in about 2 minutes. Ladies and gentlemen, if I could have you take your seats, we're going to get this show on the road. I love the energy in the room, though. It's contagious. So let's keep that energy up as we continue our way through the program tonight, right up until the time that we give generously at the end of the night to Open House Ministries. Just keep that energy rolling. That's going to be important. No, it is really fun to be at an event and to see and to feel the energy in the room. And it is truly contagious. And you're here for a good reason. I know that. I know if you are in the room already, you already know why you're here. And so we don't need to go on too much about that. But we are going to give you an opportunity to have your heartstrung pulled a little bit, a couple different times. And so looking forward to that. My name is Eric Sawyer. I'm going to be the MC tonight. And I'm familiar with Open House Ministries for a couple of reasons. One is I started a nonprofit several years ago called 100 Men Who Care, Clark County. And the purpose of 100 Men Who Care is to support the nonprofit community. And our very first winner in January of 2018 was Renee Stevens in Open House Ministries. Now, fun fact, we have a rule that once you win with 100 men, you're out of the contention for 3 years. And then you can come back into the drawing, and it is a completely random drawing that happens with about 75 different nonprofits. So we have had a couple of other nonprofits that have won previously get drawn a second time. It doesn't happen often. But recently, Open House Ministries got drawn a second time after their 3-year sabbatical, we'll call it, was up. And guess who won for a second time? Open House. The reason I bring it up is because, to me, the guys in the room who have the chance to vote, it's not a popularity contest. They have proven time and time again, I've seen it with my own 2 eyes so many times, they look at the situation with their heart. They watch the 3 nonprofits present, and then they vote. And Renee does such an I get choked up just thinking about your presentations are phenomenal. Nobody does it better. You're so special at what you do. So congratulations again on that. We've also got my mom in the room. Where's my mom? Where's my mom? Where's mom? There she is, back there, back in the corner. Mom, quick stand up. Kathy. The reason I mentioned my mom, two reasons. One, my mom is my hero, and Mother's Day was just recently, and I love my mom more than anything. And 2, she volunteers at Open House Ministries because she heard about me talking about Open House because of 100 Men Who Care. So then she got looped in, and she's a part of the fun. So thanks, Mom, for being here. Love you too. So tonight is about hope. Constructing hope. It's about understanding hope. Hopefully it's about inspiring hope as well. So what is hope? Definition of hope according to Webster's is, quote, a feeling of expectation and desire for a certain thing to happen. So that's the definition. What does Jeremiah 29:11 have to say about hope? For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans for welfare and not for evil, to give you future and a, let's do that again, to give you future and a hope. Exactly. And what does Shawshank Redemption say about it? Hope is a good thing, maybe the best of things, and no good thing ever dies. So we're here to talk about that tonight, and we're going to give you a chance to help Renee and her team, her amazing team, continue to do their amazing work. At this time, I'd love to bring up Chaplain John Nichols to say a few things. Come on up, John.
Good evening. Ooh, that's fun. As I stand here tonight under this banner of Construction of Hope, I want to share, first of all, a story with you guys. It's a story that maybe is common or familiar. It's told in different ways. I know it this way. There was once a king who planned a visit to one of the towns in his kingdom. The town was known for the best apple cider in the land. Like, we've all known a good secret family recipe. This was a secret town recipe, handed down from generation to generation, made in small batches in every home. So in preparation for the king's visit, the town decided to fill a giant barrel with this apple cider and present it to the king upon arrival. Yet there was a problem. Where were they going to get enough apple cider to fill this giant barrel? No single family could make enough, so they came up with a brilliant idea. Each family in the town would bring one jug of apple cider and pour it into the giant barrel, and this way the barrel would be filled. They placed that barrel in the center of the town and a ladder reaching up to the top so that every day people could come, line up, and pour their jug of apple cider into it. And the day finally arrived, and the king visited the town, and the people were excited to present the king with this wonderful gift. The king was shown the barrel and given his kingly goblet, and as the king raised his glass to drink, The townspeople scanned his face for signs of pleasure and joy. And yet, to their shock, they could tell this king was obviously confused and unhappy. And when he asked why he was so unhappy, the king responded, "It's just water." See, it turns out every family thought to themselves, why should I be the one to pour a jug of my apple cider into that barrel? I'll pour water instead. I'm sure no one will notice one jug of water and a giant barrel of apple cider. Everyone in the town made the same calculation. No one poured in apple cider. Everyone was relying on someone else to do what they were asked to do. See, I remember the first time I heard this story, maybe you will too now. I can't forget it. And as I've grown older, I've come and I've thought about this more and more and about what might have happened next. Right? I can imagine an epilogue to this story where the people's fear and shame quickly masked by anger as they kind of disintegrated into this hunt for who is to blame. This isn't hard to imagine, right? These are the kind of stories we see on the nightly news. And likewise, I can also imagine an ending where the people just simply turn to each other in sorrow and say, why would God allow this? Like as a pastor, I've heard that one often. And yet I can also imagine a better ending. And I hope you can too. It's an ending that takes shape of the kingdom of God, an ending where conviction leads to confession, forgiveness leads to reconciliation, an ending where the community is transformed by the values of love and respect, integrity, stewardship, and personal accountability. See, the beautiful thing is, this is more than an imagined reality or a fairy tale ending. This is the story we're writing here together at Open House. No, I'm not suggesting that Open House is some utopian community. Some days I think we're more like Lemony Snicket's A Series of Unfortunate Events than Cinderella. And that may be the truth. But nevertheless, as people burdened and bound to Christ, we see the fruit of love, respect, integrity, stewardship, personal accountability flourish in our midst. See, these are the values that were on your table. These are the values that we instill in our residents as they grow, as they learn life skills, as they put their families back together, as they break the chains of addiction and develop skills, job skills, find stable housing, and learn to walk with Jesus, praying and seeking his will. See, I share the Apostle Paul's confidence that he who began a good work in us will carry it to completion. So with that, can I pray with you? Heavenly Father, good and gracious God, you have blessed us abundantly, so that in all things and at all times, Heavenly Father, we have all that we need so that we might abound in every good work. As we are here tonight, draw our hearts to you, guide our minds, and fill our imaginations so that we might be wholly yours and so that you may be glorified in all we do. Amen. One of my great joys as a chaplain is overseeing our programming here at Open House. That's the classes and the groups designed to foster these very skills I just mentioned. See, our programming is a great combination of community partnerships from WSU to Clark College, established curriculum like Financial Peace, which you'll hear about a little bit later, to transforming grief and loss, and classes that I've introduced, serving from my experience serving in both the local and clinical settings. Now, all of these classes are led by an amazing host of teachers and facilitators and volunteers. One of the classes I introduced when I first arrived was a class called Art of Faith. And although it's changed a bit over its past 2 years, thanks to the input of residents and one of our amazing volunteers, Patty. Patty, is that you back there? Thanks, Patty. This class has remained a favorite. Yet with a title like Art of Faith, I get a lot of mixed reactions from residents on their first day. So what I tell the residents is that this is not a class for artists or even a class about making art. This is not even about the project in which they'll make. It's about the process. The process of slowing down and reflecting on themes of meaning, purpose, identity, vulnerability, belonging, and change. It's about the process of learning to quiet themselves long enough to address the many real things that have been running through their minds or they've been hiding from their entire life. See, that act of making or moving or doing is merely a vehicle to allow them to interact with the parts of themselves that would be too difficult to confront or discuss directly. But enough of me. I want to invite one of our residents, Jo. Jo is going to come up and talk to you about her experience in this class. Would you guys give it up for Jo?
Don't know how I'm supposed to follow that up. That was pretty great. Good evening, everyone. My name is Jo, and I've been a resident here at Open House Ministries for approximately 5 months, and it has made a huge impact on my life's projection. When I came to Open House, I was a broken version of myself, freshly coming out of an abusive relationship. I was and am currently going through a treacherous custody battle over my young daughter, Olive. The first day I walked through the doors of Open House, I felt alone, invisible to the world, a shell of the woman I used to be. The amazing members that come together here at Open House quickly made me feel supported, confident, and strong. I had more support than I had ever had in my entire life. And each one of these amazing people brought not only themselves, but the love of God to surround me in my desperate time of need. I have struggled with my faith for many years. Although I was raised in the church at a very young age, I felt as if I always had questions that couldn't be answered. At times, I felt like God had forgotten me, or that he didn't see me, or that I somehow wasn't worthy enough for all that he could bring. I was raised constantly hearing of all the amazing things that God's power can do if only we allowed him to do so. In my day-to-day life, growing up through massive amounts of trauma and abuse and addiction that ran through my family, I struggled to see where he was in all of that, and why he wasn't protecting me from all of the awful things the world can force upon a person. This created a major distance when it came to a relationship with him. Being here at Open House, I have learned that God allowed us the power of free will. And with that, we tend to live in the flesh, meaning things we do to others or things that are done to us might not be a part of God's plan or what he really wants for us. But God's amazing grace can use any circumstance and create something beautiful out of it. While unpacking the circumstances of my life and utilizing the amazing program offered here at Open House, I've realized I'm being led down a new path. I used to be a kindergarten teacher, and I felt completely fulfilled while simultaneously feeling empty, like I hadn't reached my full potential. Since being at Open House, I learned that possibly God is utilizing my circumstances and leading me go back to school and become a lawyer. Allowing myself to be in a position to help those that have been harmed in a similar way that I have, and much like me in my past, who are unable to productively advocate for themselves. I've referred to myself as a fence sitter, so to speak, when it comes to my faith, for as long as I can remember. Since coming to Open House, my faith has been nurtured and curated, allowing the distance in the relationship that I have with God to shrink significantly, and it continues to do so every day. I've been extremely blessed to be surrounded by so many amazing people who are living, walking examples of God's true power and his overwhelming love for each and every one of us. The program that is offered here at Open House helps not only to build us a strong foundation in the earthly world, but in our faith and our belief in Christ. Yesterday, Pastor John approached me and he offered me this amazing opportunity to speak with you guys here tonight. Not only about OHM as a whole, but the amazing Art of Faith class. Most of the residents here at Open House, I believe, as Pastor John said earlier, it's a favorite. He asked me which project resonated with me the most, and without giving it much thought, I mentioned this one here. This project was a creative way of showing our perspective of what life is when God is at the wheel and when God is not at the wheel. After I walked away from that short conversation with Pastor John, I started to really think about which one truly resonated with me. And above all of the other ones, I sadly don't have a photo or something that I can hold up to identify this with you. But it did leave a significant emotional impact that I carry in my heart. The project I'm speaking about is called the Ribbon Project. The Ribbon Project was more of an interpretive art form. The concept consisted of a multitude of colored ribbons, each representative of a core wound. A core wound is a deep emotional wound, most often formed from suppressed pain and emotions internalized from a significant event. Most of them come from childhood, but not all of them. This pain will likely grow and create a belief system about the self, which often leads to compensating behaviors to manage the pain that comes from these events. Before choosing our ribbons or even really knowing about them, we walked around, not talking, listening to some music. The air was light, and people smiled and nodded at each other. Some of us giggled or made silly faces as we passed each other. After the initial walking exercise, we were asked to approach the ribbons and pick up the colors that represented core hurts that we ourselves carry. A few I picked up were abandonment, guilt, betrayal, abuse, and loss. After being honest with ourselves of the emotional hurts that we carry in secret, we were instructed to clip a physical representation of these hurts onto our bodies, the ribbons, for not only ourselves to see, but for everyone else to see as well. We were then asked to take the walk again, although this time when we silently walked around the exact same space we are sitting in here tonight, it felt different because we were allowing ourselves to truly feel the weight of all we carry. This process also allowed us the opportunity to see the emotional hurts of the others we had grown to truly care about here at OHM. There were no longer smiling faces or nodding or giggling or silly faces at each other as we walked our own walks. The air seemed thick and heavy. We were all looking at the ground, some of us crying, including myself, seemingly weighed down by all the deep hurts that we carried in silence by ourselves. After a few minutes, Pastor John pulled us back together and gave us new instructions. He asked us to choose one of our ribbons and let ourselves imagine life if we handed that emotional hurt over to God instead of carrying it around all on our own. I decided myself to choose the one that for me, I feel started it all: abandonment. The very first emotional hurt that I felt and that I subsequently shoved into my secret emotional backpack. Imagining life without it was very strange for me and a very hard reality to picture for myself. But it also felt exhilarating and renewing, allowing myself to have the realization that if I could hand this hurt over to God and all of my other hurts over to Him as well, I could in fact be renewed through Him. I'm not the best with scriptures, so I asked Pastor John for help with this one, but I'd like to reference 2 Corinthians 5:17, which says, "Therefore, if anyone is in Christ, he is a new creation. The old has passed away, behold, the new has come." I interpret this scripture as such. All things can become new and beautiful through Christ if only we hand our lives over to Him and accept His will for us, which with the help of OHM, I'm becoming strong enough to do every day. Thank you so much for listening to me share my experience being here at OHM.
Joe, absolutely mesmerizing. You could hear a pin drop in here for 99%, and the 1% was when they were saying like applause, and that was, wow, just amazing. I referenced earlier that at a point later on in the program, we're going to have an opportunity to show some generosity. And I did want to point out on your programs, just so you have this spoiler alert, you don't need to do this now, but on your programs, on the back of the program, you're going to see a little QR code. By the way, QR code. Prior to COVID, how many of us knew really honestly what a QR code is? Shout it out if you know. What does QR stand for? Quick response. Quick response. So just, there you go, trivia. Now, okay, store that nugget away. Not that you'll ever need it, but anyways, QR code. So that's it. So we'll have three ways you can give. You can give by texting OHM at that number there, 44321, or you're going to be able to use the QR code. And there's also envelopes on the table as well for a third way. If you want to go the old-fashioned route, that is perfectly fine. So we'll get to that a little bit later, but I just wanted to let you know that. All right. At this time, I would like to bring up to the stage Mr. Mike Roscom, Financial Peace Instructor. Mike is a longtime Clark County resident and friend of Open House Ministries with over 40 years of small business experience. He recently retired from his debt buying and collection agency business. He has an in-depth understanding of debt, budgets, and financial awareness derived from working with consumers for over 25 years. Mike is the instructor for the Financial Peace Program at Open House Ministries. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mike Roscom.
Well, I get up early and the thing, how do you follow stuff like that, right? So you may think I look a bit familiar. I'm proud to admit that I am the oldest brother of the late Mark Roscom, who served as Open House chaplain for many years prior to John Nichols coming on board. I'm also the father of Andrew Roscom, a current Open House board member. I started teaching Financial Peace University with Mark, and I've worked with John to refine the program to assist Open House residents, meeting them where they are at and dealing with the difficulties they're experiencing after a season of poor life choices. More specifically in the area of money, bad credit, and sometimes the physical carnage that their life has turned into. We start by talking about behaviors and attitudes of life, money, and accepting personal responsibility for their current situation. But I emphasize it's not as important on where you have been, but to know where you are going. We use Dave Ramsey's Financial Peace University video series in conjunction with the Total Money Makeover Workbook. We discuss attitudes and introduce the 7 baby steps that are the foundations of FPU. The emphasis is on making sacrifices and choices today to experience freedom tomorrow. And the 7 baby steps, you probably all heard them, saving $1,000 in a rainy day fund, good idea. Creating a debt snowball by paying off all your debts, smallest to largest, saving 3 to 6 months expenses in your rainy day fund, saving and invest 15% of your income for retirement, great plan, save for your kids' college or maybe your college, pay off the mortgage, or for the residents, we end up talking about what does your housing dream look like for you? And then finally, begin to give and live like no one else. I work with the residents on how to create a budget, provide insights on how to live within a budget and experiencing the freedom it gives you. We look at ways to start and keep their emergency fund, that $1,000. We spend time on how to monitor their credit and begin a program of debt repayment, as well as how to communicate with a creditor or a debt collector. I've got personal experience with that. So, taking the responsibility for the mess they created and proactively addressing the problem. Time is spent on IRAs and 401ks, so when they start working, they can make educated choices. We tap the insurance base, we talk about what a mortgage is, and determining when you might be ready to buy a home. Intermixed are often great questions about a specific subject or problem. Each of us have made poor choices, and I can share with the group some of mine. I am grateful for the honesty and transparency of the residents that they exhibit. They share their hurts and attitudes, which we've heard already. I'm able to bring in guests who have turned their lives around and share how God is redeeming their life and now providing the blessings of reunited families and other results of making wise decisions. The current rhythm of the class, we offer it 2 to 3 times a year. It usually runs 7 to 8 weeks on a Monday afternoon for an hour and a half or so. In addition, some personal time is spent one-on-one as needed, and they always have homework. Seriously. And isn't that just what we've all discovered? There is always homework, right? Just ask my dear wife of 50 years. Thank you.
At this time, we'd like to bring up Brian Dent, Board of Director and Community Supporter. Brian's the Vice President of the Open House Ministries Board of Directors and has been a commercial banker for 30 years, mostly here in Vancouver. Currently works for Washington Trust Bank, a full-service bank offering commercial loans, wealth management, and private banking services. Washington Trust Bank has a long history of partnering on community projects that provide housing to at-risk women, homeless and low-income seniors, and resources for those struggling with food insecurities. Please welcome Brian Dent to the stage.
Hello and welcome. I'm going to put this down. I'm not as tall as the rest of them. We're grateful for your attendance and participation in tonight's Constructing Hope event. As you can tell, thank you, Eric, I wear many hats tonight. I'm speaking on behalf of my company, on behalf of the board of directors, and most importantly, like all of yourselves, someone who sees suffering in our community and wants to help out. And we're helping out by supporting this organization, which lights a path for those who are ready for a changed and different life. I would like to thank our sponsors tonight for their generous commitment to be part of that transformation here at Open House Ministries. Pacific Lifestyle Homes and Garrett Custom Homes, thank you very much. Nikki and Kevin Wan and their companies have been generous supporters with us for many years. Silverity, thank you very much to the Chumleys. And Portland Wholesale Lumber Association, some also know that as the Hoo Hoo Club. We very much appreciate your commitment. They take an extra special effort to make Christmas time a wonderful time for our residents and their children. Riverview Bank, I want to recognize them. Thank you for their sponsorship tonight. And also, very generous bridge financing support for the Open House West project across the street. The Real Vest Company, I didn't see Paul earlier. Paul and Robin, thank you very much for your continued support. And my employer, also Washington Trust Bank. On the back of your program, next to the quick response code, I did learn something tonight. Thank you. Also, thank you to William Bishop, Ross Merritt, the O'Donnell Law Firm, Liberty Bible Church, Summit View Church, Versa Audio, and YMCA for also making this event wonderful tonight. These organizations and people are standing alongside Open House Ministries, its residents, and we welcome their support. We deeply appreciate all our sponsors and contributors for giving their time, talents, and treasure.
Brian, tell me if I'm wrong about this, but, well, not the first part. The first part I already know. Brian's also a member of 100 Men Who Care, and so I just thought it was a fun fact. You had to have been one of the members that cast your vote for Open House the last time up, right?
That might have been a conflict of interest, but yes.
I think the answer was yes. Oh my gosh. All right. At this time, I'd like to bring up Jim Adams to the stage. Jim Adams has been working in wholesale lumber distribution for nearly 40 years, and in 2015 was the president of the Portland Wholesale Lumber Association. His passion for service includes years of leading Cub Scout troops and coaching youth league baseball and basketball teams. Jim has been the chairman of the Open House Ministries Christmas Party for Kids, sponsored by the Wholesale Lumber Association. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome up Jim Adams to the stage.
Geez, Brian, stick with golf or soccer or something. Stay off the basketball court, huh? So imagine this same gym with the blackouts gone, probably another 25% more tables, pizza line down the side filled with, I don't know, another 50 adults with 130 kids. That's what the Christmas party has come to today. I'm going to go through a little bit of the history of how it started. I talked to the founding person a couple of evenings ago, and it originally started where his wife worked for a business called Apartment Finders. And through that resource, they decided that they were placing some people. Let's give them a Christmas they can remember. So they got about 25 people together and went to a pizza place. From there, it just expounded. He got the business owner of the company I'm currently working at involved. We got more of the wood product industry involved. The wood product industry is very giving, especially to a cause like this. So we originally started at the World Forestry Center because that was the biggest space we could rent. And we would bus them from the shelter. We get 2 or 3 buses through traffic down to the Oregon Zoo, the World Forestry Center, same night that Zoo Lights was going on. So it requires about 20 volunteers, 20 to 25 volunteers to make this thing move. So it started down there for many years, and I'll never forget one time raining, and it's like herding cats with the kids. And so you have somebody out front, here comes the buses, here comes the buses, here comes the buses, and you see them go around and Zoo Lights and the zoo, and okay, unload, up, go up to the room, food, pizza, pop, candy, toys. All right, time to go. We got to get back to the shelter. It's 8 o'clock. We've had them for 2 hours. They got sugar in their veins. They're ready to go. Jim, where are the buses? What? Where are the buses? We got people we got to put on. Oh my gosh, they had, these poor people, they didn't know where to park and ended up going all the way out to 185th to the shopping mall out there in Beaverton, because that was the only place they could figure out to turn around and park in the big parking lot to come back. So I'm on the cell phones, but anyway, that's one of the stories of the old places. They, thank goodness, is here, because it's an all-day event to set up the party, and a lot of faithful volunteers through all this time. This year we had close to 125 gifts that we bought for the kids. Again, it's a list I get, and I have about half a dozen, 7, 8 companies. I give them the list of kids. They faithfully go buy the presents. I go to each of the businesses about a week prior, pick up all the presents, put them in a secure place, and they all end up on this stage here in a big jumble. And then I have a couple people that have been doing it that come and organize it and make it make sense. We have Santa Claus. We got 2 or 3 face painters over here with the lady making the balloons. We've got pop, desserts, just all kinds of stuff. It's really a very fun and festive event. Now, this will be our 23rd year this December. This will be my 13th. And what's been enjoyable for me is there's some people that come back, some repeat people. But I remember when I recognize the names on the gifts list, and I see they were babies. Well, now they're 12, 13 years old, and I still see them. And I have to mention one particular kid, Renee, you know who he is, Aiden. Aiden was 4 or 5 years old. When these hoops are down, it's real hard for me not to shoot a paper cup or something. To this day, I haven't shot anything in these hoops. But I hear the basketball, you know, and there's a skateboard with the kid. Hey, don't ride your skateboard in here. But basketball, yeah, let's play. And so I hear the basketball. Aiden was probably 6, 7 years old. I go there and start talking to him. Well, he's learning how to play basketball. I was coaching my own kids in basketball. All right, dribble left, dribble right, dribble. He's never forgotten that. I see his dad during the party also, and he always, as a family, they always make time to come up and visit me and see me, and I give him a hug back. Aiden's a 15, 16-year-old now, heading off on his trajectory of life, feeling good. So I must say that the Portland Wholesale Lumber Association, this is our first year in having under that banner, I guess is a better way than anything to call it. It was prior to that Portland Hoo-Hoo Club. But through that resource, that'll give me an opportunity to speak with lumber professionals and maybe get some more funds, certainly more volunteers. I must say that this function that we put on is, once my expenses are covered, we write a check and give it to Renee. And Renee, you do with it as you wish. And so far, she's done a good job with it. So obviously, what we're doing across the street. So I'd like to present you with a check. Terry, can you come up? Terry's our president this year of the Portland Wholesale Lumber Association. And her and I got together after my expenses this year. And we're going to present Renee with our check that's left over, or we can just give it to you, whatever. But yeah, we'll just give it to you. So this is something we do every year because, come on, Grandma. There you go. Thank you. So thank you again, Open House Ministries. I hope we can continue to do it for another 30, 40 years, or until God says it's run its course. I know that the residents really enjoy it, and the kids have a blast. I'm a kid at heart. I love kids. And through no cause of their own, these young kids are wrapped up in the lives that they have. And this ministry, this building, the vibe is so needed in our communities, and I'm honored to be part of it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jim. And as I mentioned, the program, The Christmas is Wonderful. Jim, I can't help you out with the basketball, but do you have an elf costume that I possibly could wear? Yeah. I'll give it to the professional.
No, that was amazing. I think at this time, actually, we are going to bring up the one and only Renee Stevens to the stage. So, yeah.
Whew, those lights are so bright. Hi, everybody. I feel like everybody's already covered everything tonight, right? I hope you hear a theme: constructing hope, foundation. 20 years I've been involved with the Hoo-Hoo Christmas Party, 20 years. And it's a huge foundational part of what we get to do here at Open House Ministries. It's not just important to our residents, but all of our staff who is involved, to be able to sit and watch the kids have the most spectacular Christmas ever. And Angel the clown is here. We forgot about him. He tells jokes and super sour, and it's just really special. So thank you so much. So many of you know about Open House West. Right across the street, we're building 30 units for apartments for graduates from Open House Ministries. And tonight we have Riverview Bank, who is our foundation bank. We have, Lisa's not here tonight, but Lisa was our architect, and so she drew the foundation. We also have R&O, who is pouring the foundation. And you kind of get the gist of where I'm going with this is we're building a building, and so then the building's built. But that's not where the foundation begins. The foundation begins here at Open House Ministries and the lives that we get to work with, to build with, show example of, and we're really teaching people how to live again. I mean, I appreciate what Jo said. She's very articulate, and she's growing and getting through a lot of struggles in her life, and it's not easy, but she's building a foundation. I remember over 21 years ago, swinging in a swing, wee hours of the morning in Fruit Valley Park, thinking, wow, the only thing that I can do good at is fail. And I was really, really good at it. That next morning, I woke up, I called Open House. I asked if they had a room again, because I had already been here before. They said yes, I came, and I really think that God began constructing hope in my head. I all of a sudden started working on this foundation in my life. Tonight, all of you are a huge part of that foundation that we get to build. And it's stories like Joe's, and the next story that you're going to hear is from Diana. And Diana's it's an exciting story for me. It's very similar to my own story, so it's a special place in my heart. I met Diana over 11 years ago, and I actually knew the father of her children. And Diana would come in and out of her children's life, and it was chaotic, unstable, and at times really hard to watch. And this went on for a very long time. In 2017, Diana showed up at Open House Ministries as a single female. And she stayed in our single female room. And she began to build the foundation of her life, piece by piece. And I will tell you, to this day, she's the most, and I'm going to say this word the best that I can, exemplary resident that we ever had. Everything that she did with a smile. And you're a close second, promise you. What Diana did is when she did giving back, she did it with a smile, with respect, with dignity. When she heard her team, her resident mates complain of, why do we have to do this? This is ridiculous. She said, you guys were giving back to a place that's giving us everything back in our life, and we need to do it with a smile. And I'm so grateful, and I've loved watching her grow, and I'm not going to tell any more of her story. I'll let her tell her own. Please welcome Diana. She's very nervous, so be
Yeah. Hello, everybody. Okay. My name is Diana Maha, and I am a very grateful graduate of Open House Ministries. So when Renee asked me to come here and speak with you tonight and share my story, I jumped at the chance, even though I am terrified.
Sorry, Diana.
No more? Okay. My struggle with addiction began when I was 19 years old, and my best friend introduced me to meth. I had just graduated high school with a 3-year-old child, and as soon as I took that first hit of meth, I never looked back. It was only a year or two later that I lost my daughter in a custody battle. I was so deep into drugs that I couldn't even take care of her. I had 2 more children, and with each pregnancy, I would manage to stay clean for maybe a year, just long enough to breastfeed, and then I would relapse. For 18 years, I was stuck in a cycle. I'd run away from my family to use drugs. I'd be out for a few years, away from my children. I'd hit rock bottom, go to treatment, go back to my family, rinse and repeat. At age 37, I had never had a job. I had never supported myself or my children. I had never paid a bill. I had never had a bank account. I was completely dependent. I had never bought a gift for my children on holidays, if I even showed up for holidays. In 2017, after being homeless for 5 years, I hit yet another bottom. I was in jail on a DUI charge and on my way to treatment for the 5th time. This time it was court-ordered 60 days in a DOC-run facility. In the last week, I was given a packet of resources. In that was Open House Ministries, so I called. I spoke to Renee, and I told her I was getting released in a few days with no money and no place to go. I had burned all bridges with my family, and I needed help. I moved into the single women's room on November 2017, the day before Thanksgiving, and I'll never forget it because it was the very first time I had a place of my own. I was excited to work the program. No place on earth will ever let an adult come in and lay all the responsibilities down and let you heal. I didn't have to worry anymore about anything. They took care of it all. They gave me food and clothing, mental and emotional support, everything I needed. I could, for the first time, stop worrying about all the things I hadn't done, all of the things that I couldn't do. I was able to focus on healing. I was able to build my relationship with God, and in turn was able to rebuild a relationship with my children. As I progressed through classes and Bible studies, I was eventually moved into a family room where my children were able to come home to me. I was given a job at the thrift store where I received my very first ever Employee of the Month. During my stay at Open House, I gained confidence and grace. The feelings of guilt and shame melted away. In 2018, I started working part-time with Mr. Roskam and was blessed with the opportunity to move into the Pinewood Apartments. In just 11 months in Open House Ministries, I had accomplished more than I had in 18 years. In 11 months, I experienced so many firsts. My first real job, my first time supporting myself and kids, my first bank account. For the first time ever, I had 5 years and 8 months off meth. Thank you. And it's all because 5 years and 6 months ago, I arrived here at Open House broken and scared. Open House Ministries gave me my life back and helped me keep it. Now I am a homeowner and a thriving member of society, and my heart will always be here at Open House. Thank you.
Well, I think we're almost at that point that I alluded to earlier, but before we do that, let's keep the energy up right where it needs to be, and let's take a selfie. But no, hold on. This is going to be, I need arms up. Like, I need like, woo, like high energy, everybody, high energy. Can you guys also, can you squeeze in? Can you squeeze in? No? Okay. All right, we'll just go with that. Ah! Okay, there we go. Oh, house lights, even better. All right, repeat. Repeat, arms up, arms up. Woo! All right. Now, without further ado, on your tables, you have 3 ways to generously give and support Open House Ministries tonight. You have the envelopes, if you'd like to use those. Please feel free to, if you're not going to be able to donate tonight, but you want to do that later, take one of those envelopes home with you. The second way is with those, with the texting, where you just text OHM to that number, 44321. And then the third way would be with that QR code. In the event that somebody is in here that doesn't know how to use the QR code, it's really, really easy. Just open up your picture, your camera on your phone, hold it up to that little QR code, that little square, and then it'll open up the app, or you push on the little app and it'll open up, take you right to the donation page. So there you go. Those are our 3 ways. We're going to give you a couple of minutes to do that, and then we're going to bring Renee up to say a few parting words, and we will get you on your way this evening. So thank you very much from the bottom of my heart, and from everybody that told stories tonight, had great, amazing things to say. Joe, Diana, everybody, awesome night. Thank you. for one last goodbye for this evening and a wonderful event. Renee Stevens, thank you, everybody. Great job.
Are we there? I just want to say thank you so much for coming out tonight and helping us construct hope, lay a foundation, and please keep informed on OHM West. It's so exciting. We have our building permit. We have workers over there all day long. We have an elevator shaft. It's super exciting, and we can't wait to get that building built, house 30 new people, and do vocational training. So we're really excited. And just as a side note, if you have good stairs, we could really use some. So again, thank you so much. Just for the friendships, the new friendships at Open House, the long-term friendships that we've had, we just appreciate you guys so much. We could not do what we do without you, so thank you.